When I matriculated at NYU, I was very fortunate to have Haig P. Manoogian as my academic advisor. He was founder and dean of the film school. At the time, I didn't realize what a legend he was. He was known as an intuitive evaluator of talent. His most notable student was Martin Scorsese. They shared a lifelong friendship and a love of film. Scorsese dedicated Raging Bull in Haig's memory. At NYU, no one mistook my work for Scorsese's. It felt like I was making the same film over and over, the same alone on the road theme. I was trying to get innovative with shots, but really getting this stuff, still using friends as actors. It felt like I was going fast, but taking a long time to get absolutely nowhere. I was very excited about my next project, a film about tough New York State drug legislation. It targeted users, mostly baby boomers, not dealers. I met a smart guy who saw it all as opportunity, so he became a dealer. He didn't even smoke. He did meditation and yoga. Operating in a discreet location, I had incredible access to his business. He created a shell company called the Triangle Corporation after his distribution patterns. Often, I was filming in rooms with hefty bags full of pot. In retrospect, very risky. But at some level, I believed I was there for the story, so it was okay. And the kicker? All this was taking place within walking distance of the state capitol that enacted the legislation. I didn't capture any of it. This great story was laid out in front of me, and I missed the ball. After the class screening, Haig wanted to see me. That's never very good. He needed to get permits, so we took a walk from Washington Square to City Hall. It took me a lifetime to figure out what we talked about. It was one of those veiled, ambiguous, amorphous conversations where you don't really understand the message because you don't know that a message is being sent. Haig told me I walked really fast and asked if I thought it was too fast. He asked if I prefer to read books or read magazines. He asked me if I fish. He left me at City Hall wondering what just happened. Little did I know that this was the start of a 3-day sleepless stretch that would change my life forever. When I got home, my mother was on the phone. She needed to get ready for a second job as a hostess and told me the call was for me. It was my Uncle George Stavropoulos. His family owned the Candy Kitchen in Bridgehampton for generations. From his counter perch, George scooped out dishes of homemade ice cream smothered in heaps of goodwill. George was so affable, welcoming, and connective. With his gentle good nature, he befriended some of the world's most powerful people. One of them was Don Hewitt, literally the inventor of television news, at the top of Mount Rushmore of TV journalism. He created it all. George asked if I wanted to meet him, the next morning, a Friday at 8:15 a.m. I was so excited even though I was working all night as a bartender. So I worked, showered, drove to Bridgehampton, got there early, and then there he was. Just like the Carson taping, it felt like an audience with royalty. I would actually go on to work for some of the most powerful men in news, but you always remember your first. He barely looked up and asked, "You have any story ideas?" I had 3. I wanted to redo the drug story I just bombed on. I had a story about Long Island as a metaphor for suburban decay, and a profile piece on Robert Moses. He told me he'd be in touch and went back to his crossword. The whole thing took about 2 minutes. I guess it was just like my first. I went back to chat with George and in his very George way said, "Hey, can you hang around? There's some guy who comes in here, he works for the county or something, he wants to make a film, he wants to meet you." I said, "Sure," spent most of the day there, but the guy never showed. I was exhausted, I still had to go to work all night as a bartender, drove home, and when I got there, on cue the phone rings, and it was this guy, Tim Archdeacon.
Idea of tourism on Long Island and
he owned catering businesses on Long Island, but had political aspirations. His focus was Long Island tourism, and he wanted a film expounding the virtues and beauty of Long Island. At the time, civic volunteers were producing very dated deliverables. He saw opportunity. I told him my concept was more gritty, box stores, overgrowth, suburban decay. But Tim was persuasive. He made 2 points. Sometimes you have to show the good to fix the bad. And then he told me he had full funding for the film and was looking for someone to make it. When I heard about the funding, I did an immediate about-face. I told him that a tourism film is actually a great idea, and that I think I could do a really good job making the film for him. We agreed it would also serve as my senior film for NYU, and then spoke for the next couple of hours. I had to work again, all night, didn't sleep at all. Later, when the sun was rising, I had just fallen asleep, the phone rang, and I hear my grandfather having an animated conversation, speaking in his beautiful broken English. No, he sleep now. I no wake him for nobody. I took the phone and it was Jeff Ruey. He was married into the Kennedys, a protege of Don Hewitt, and the head of production at ABC Sports. He told me he had spoken with Don and Haig and asked if I was interested in an internship. I was stunned. I could not process it all. It was 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. So I went for a run. In 3 sleepless days, I had met Don Hewitt, confirmed financing for my senior film, and was offered a high-profile internship. My mind raced, but I recall my thoughts very clearly on how both Haig and my father thought me as a TV guy. They both knew my pace and temperament. My father told me as much during ice ball moments. And that's what Haig was really talking about on our walk to City Hall. But mostly, I thought about how none of what just happened, or what was about to happen, would have ever have happened if it weren't for George.
Now the time has come to thank you.